Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala ali Sayyidina Muhammad. Dear parents, I hope all of your parents who are watching this presentation actually meant for parents. My name is Brother Hakim. I'm from AlKhair English Madrasah. Just to give you a very short introduction to our madrasa, we are located in the suburbs in Singapore, a place called Choa Chu Kang, and we are located in the Masjid AlKhair. That's the reason why it is AlKhair English Madrasah. We are a unit of Masjid AlKhair, and we parents have started this madrasa under Masjid AlKhair about 10 years ago. The reason why we have started this madrasa is because our children come from different backgrounds and they speak different mother tongue at home, like Mandarin, Tamil, Bengali, Hindi, Malayalam, Urdu, and other languages. Now the thing is that the common thing that we all have is actually English. In this part of the world, as you know, mostly Islamic education is conducted in Malay, and our children don't understand Malay. That's the reason why, alhamdulillah, we've started this madrasa. To say that we have started this madrasa is actually not really fitting, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted this madrasa to happen. So we are actually, all of us are putting our hand, and we are actually running and getting this madrasa on. Alhamdulillah, it's been going on well, and we have close to about 550 students this year, with levels from 5 years old up to 18 years old. Now, the purpose of this madrasa is not actually to advertise. This presentation is not to advertise for the madrasa, but actually is to create an awareness among parents, the main reason why your children must have proper Islamic education on a regular basis. Okay. Before that, let's go back probably to education system, Islamic education system or environments, maybe 30-40 years ago. This is probably a classroom. This is a classroom that is actually in my hometown village in India. It's not a photograph that's taken 30 years ago. It's photograph taken recently, and the thing is that nothing much has really changed. And if I were to recall back my days when I was 5-6 years old, we used to wake up in the morning, and we used to go and go to madrasa, half sleepy, walking in the cold for maybe about 1 hour, learn to read the Quran, and they teach you how to pray, etc. And we come back home. And after that, we go to school, we come back home, have lunch, go to school again, come back, and then after that, it's evening time, we play. After playing at night, there's not entertainment, there's no TV, nothing. So actually, we go to sleep early, and we get up the next day, and the same thing happens. Now, the village that I came from is Islamic village. Mostly Muslims are residing there, and you find that you can hear the adhan everywhere. People go to pray, and you don't. And women are all in burqa when they come out, and you don't see much of the external world. Now, when we grow up in this environment, it's easy to raise a Muslim child with the identity of being a Muslim. Okay, they learn from the elders, they learn from the Maulana around, and you ask questions and you get your answers for basic things. You don't really need to know much about the world and everything else, because the external influence is very little. However, if you look at the situation, if you look at our situation, can we apply the same kind of Islamic education setting, okay, in this kind of time, in this kind of urbanized environment? Okay, we find that it's quite impossible. Okay, we can't teach. Why we can't teach the Islam the same way we were taught when we were young, right? So these are some of the reasons why a comprehensive and engaging education system is required, which I've called the game changers. These things have changed how we view Islamic education last time and how it has to change now. Number one, changing common morality standards. If you look at pictures 100 years ago, 150 years ago, you find that the dressing among the men, the women, and all will be quite similar to Muslims and non-Muslims. In fact, the men used to have beards, and the women all dressed fully covered. But if you look at the situation now, the Muslims are still the same, but the non-Muslims have changed quite a bit. That's one thing. And also, if you look at the religious and the non-religious sectors, you find that things like LGBT, lesbian, gay, transsexual issues, and all these things have brought about differing morality standards, not only among Muslims, even among Christians and other religious groups versus the non-religious group. So you find that the environment has changed very much. What used to be wrong, considered to be wrong 20, 30, even 50, 30, even 20 years ago, now is considered to be right. So now your children are all exposed to all these kind of things. Now, how do you maintain the Islamic standard, morality standard, while you are still being exposed to all these things, right? These changing standards. Are you teaching your children? Are you telling your children what is right, what is wrong? Parents don't even have time to talk to their children nowadays, right? The second thing is higher education levels. Now, every parent, every Muslim, non-Muslim, every parent wants their children to have high education standards. They want them to progress as far as they can, do well in studies. Now, the thing about higher education levels, Islam is not against it. Okay, Islam is all for higher education levels. In fact, you find that among our committee members, most of us are degree holders. Many of us are actually postgraduates, graduating from overseas universities in England, in US, etc. Now, the thing is that the danger comes in when you have a higher education level, when you provide your children with a higher education level, but you did not complement that with Islamic education. Now, when that happens, you find that your children will start to rationalize, okay? And rationality is not against Islam, but when you rationalize without Islamic knowledge, that becomes a danger. And sometimes you find that children lose their faith. Okay, when they grow up, they become atheists because they do not know what is Islam all about, right? The third thing is the internet. This is probably one of the most important influences and the most, if we call, devastating one that requires us to think about Islamic education at all. Now, the internet is such now that everybody has access to information, even in the villages. Now, that said, the problem is internet provides information. There's a lot of good in it. In fact, probably this presentation has been transmitted to you or you're seeing this through internet. But there's also a lot of dangers. You can propagate ideas. You can tell lies, okay, without ever nobody finding out about it. Photoshop is fantastic now. You can create a photograph that is non-existent at all. In reality, you can create video clips, edit it so well that you can take things out of context. Okay, so this is a danger with the internet, and with the growing social media, your children are all exposed to every kind of information. Okay, some of them is against Islam, some of them trying to present a wrong idea about Islam. You can see that this is happening very widely. Like terror groups are trying to provide their own version of Islam, and young youths who do not know about Islam get recruited into it. We do not know whether these terror groups are actually Muslim groups or not, because what they present is totally different from what is real Islam. So this, in order for them to learn, they have to come to a madrasa, they have to face a person who is a real person, who is responsible enough to give them the correct Islamic education. Okay, this is a very important. You don't let your children learn from the internet. Your children are going to get really confused. Okay, the fourth point is to integrating and living with the non-Muslim community. Now, like what the terror groups are trying, they're trying to divide the Muslims and the non-Muslims into two different groups and creating enmity. Now, the thing about Islam is that Islam has always lived with everybody. Yes, we have our own moral standards. We talk about God. We have our own what do you call belief of what is coming hereafter and everything. But we never disturb the other communities, other religious groups and all. We find that in Middle East, Christianity was sheltered by Muslims for many hundreds of centuries. Okay, many tens of centuries, thousands of years, Islam has sheltered Christianity. Okay, in India, Muslims ruled for 800 years, but still Hinduism is still intact, well and alive. Now the thing is, we never disturb and we live integrated. In fact, this is a beautiful picture that I really like. It's a very nice picture of how we live together as a community. It's more important in places like Singapore. We cannot isolate ourselves from the rest of the community. Yes, we have different standards of morality, etc. Our connection with God is different, etc. But still, we need to live as a human being and be useful citizens where we live, following the rules of the country that we live in, following the rules of the society. Now, this has to be taught to your children. If your children do not know how to integrate and yet keep your identity, that is going to also become a big problem. Okay. Now, the way we do it is we start very young, 5 years old. That's when we encourage your parents to bring your children into the madrasa. From 5 years old until like 18 years old, we keep the children in the madrasa, and every week they come, they have a different lesson altogether. You may wonder what is there to teach, for 14 years that the children have to come to madrasa every week. We learned it, and probably how to pray, how to recite the Quran in maybe 1 year. But that's where the difference comes in. Okay, we learn that, but we are not exposed to what is belief. Okay, we find that the children over here are actually learning about belief. They're going to the pub, they're learning about Allah's creations. We teach them all these things is created by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So very early stage, the children learn about all these things in their life. So you see, you also teach them how to pray. This is 6-year-old children. They are actually going to the beach, learning how to pray, and you're taught you have to pray wherever you are. Okay, doesn't mean that they go to work, they are attending a company function, they don't have to pray. They have to pray. They can pray anywhere they like, because it is not like you have to go to a mosque. Only if you find a mosque you pray. This is a message that we are giving the children. So the lesson continues. Okay, until like for example they're 18 years old. This is a teens 1 boys just getting ready for a class photo shoot. All right, and the way they do it is different from the young kids. They do presentation, we teach them, we evaluate what they think, they talk about it, and we tell them, we correct them, what they're thinking is right or wrong, is it in Islamic principles, etc. Okay, so now every week they come and they learn. This is important because you see, in Islam, we human beings are forgetful. That's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made Friday a compulsory time for all Muslim men to attend Friday prayers. Why? The khutbah is for the true khutbah actually is supposed to remind you, okay, of your purpose on earth, what you're supposed to do, your duty to your creator, and society and everything. Okay, the same way the children also have to be reminded every week. So when they come, they assume this identity. They know what they're supposed to do. They know they come into Islamic environment. Just imagine if your child doesn't go anywhere. Okay, do you provide Islamic education for your children? Do you talk about all these issues that are coming up in parenting? No, probably not. And it's very, very important during their growing up years, in teens and youth. Okay, so this is what we try to provide in the madrasa. Now, so again, just to remind the objective, if you are wanting to register your child in Imam, okay, please do so early. That's the whole objective of one of the main objective of this presentation. Please do not come in at like November or December and say you want to register your child. Now the problem with this is that at that time the places get filled up somewhere in July, June, and after that it's very difficult to provide places. Now and the other problem is also that some of the students are actually attending mother tongue classes in the morning, like Bengali, Urdu. Now, these children, we have to allocate them in the afternoon session. And if we don't get registrations early, then we find that it's difficult for us to allocate them in the afternoon session when everything is filled up. So that's one objective. The second objective, or the most important objective, is to get parents who are not sending their children for any form of Islamic education to think about why are you not doing it. Now, we are not asking you to come to English Madrasah, AlKhair English Madrasah, for you to register, because we can't provide place for everybody. But in any case, you have to group together, you have to find out how you can actually provide, okay, proper Islamic education for your children. Now, just like all parents, our Muslim parents are also concerned about, their children's progress in school. Very sad, but they never think about their children's progress in Islam. You see, your child will grow up and get a good degree. You focus on getting a good degree, get a job and everything. At the end of the day, when your child is going to die, the malaikat in the grave is not going to ask you what degree you have, what job did you do, etc. You're going to ask, who is your Lord? Okay, that's the question. And in Akhirah, you are not going to be asked why you didn't provide your children with proper education, why you didn't get your children to do PhD, or why didn't you provide for your children house, etc., etc. You're going to be asked your children, why didn't you educate your children in Islam? Okay, so this is the question that you have, and the most important thing, you must think how to send my children for formal Islamic education. It does not have to be full-time. Okay, not all children are going to go for full-time education. At least part-time education, accredited, proper people teaching, etc. Right? So this is the whole message of this. So those of you who would like to enroll, you can actually enroll at this website, www.himat.sg. You can apply there, but application, you apply, but we may not be able to provide places for everybody, but it's a good thing if you want to apply, right? So I thank you for listening to this short presentation. I hope that it has benefited you. At least the most important objective is for you to think, okay, to provide proper Islamic education for your children. Okay. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.